Hi, I'm Alexa, and I'm here with Brad Dotson, the founder and CEO of Youpower. Brad, with so much going on at the company growing into new markets, I thought it might be a good idea to pause and have you briefly explain your thinking behind the need and creation of Youpower.
Oh, goodness. Thanks for asking, Alexa. We saw in 2018, clearly with the passage of Senate Bill 100, that we were fundamentally changing how we're going to deliver electric power throughout California and then the rest of the nation. But to get to anywhere near the 100% carbon-free electrical environment that those behind the legislation were envisioning, there was going to be some tall hurdles that had to be cleared. One of those we saw right away was solving for the split incentive problem, which has plagued apartment owners and low-rise office building owners and made it difficult, really impossible for them to install clean power initiatives like solar on their properties. So we had to look at this a little different ways. And it's hard to believe, Alexa, but 30 years we've been in this business, guiding companies through the changing regulatory landscape in California, the Midwest, not in the Northeast, through deregulation, through the creation of the California Power Exchange, through the Enron crisis. Oh, no one wants to remember that. Through interruptible power tariffs becoming demand response programs where negawatts with an N taking power off the grid became equivalent to megawatts generating power to come onto the grid. We've seen peak power prices go from 10 cents a kilowatt hour to 65, 70 cents, and boy, we'll pierce through $1, which I didn't think I'd see in my career. And so much change has taken place to get us to this point, this important inflection point, where we're transitioning into a 100% carbon-free, clean electric power grid in the West. And while much of the transition can happen, and it has happened, it's accomplished simply by regulatory, bureaucratic fiat. The regulators say this is what we're going to charge and this is what you're going to do. We don't have much of a choice as ratepayers, but frankly, the owners, the landlords of apartment buildings and of office buildings and their investors, they do have some choice because their decisions are value driven. They still get to determine how they're going to deploy their capital. And when we looked at this and the Senate Bill 100 marched to 100% clean energy, carbon-free power, we didn't see them implementing any type of clean power initiatives on their properties unless there was some type of common sense return on investment, an increase of their net operating income or their ROI. Their investors in their buildings would demand as much.
So you were determined to approach the problem from a different angle then, from the real estate owner's perspective?
That's right, Alexa. It's different from an energy standpoint too, different than what we have done in the past, but it really has been an evolution. And what we see is the challenge that we saw was making this change, again, for multi-tenant owner-operators, a market-driven decision, a capital-centric or even a capitalist solution for the investors in these buildings, low-rise office and apartment buildings. And one where NOI and ROI would become the incentive to move forward with a solar or clean power initiative. We envisioned an exchange of sorts, Alexa, where a new type of exchange, one where tenants would receive solar power benefits and the landlord could receive a fair return on his or her investment. One that creates a true win-win for landlords and their tenants, along with a win for their environment, and which is really important to us as now we have grandkids coming up. There's a number of reasons we're in this space. And it was out of these workshops that our tenant power exchange was born. TPX, as it's become known, is we think a really elegant solution to the problem of multi-tenant solar power. Really, we've cracked the code actually of the split incentive problem. TPX enables tenants to request owners to provide clean solar power benefits to their rental unit, to their apartment or office at a discount to what they'd otherwise pay the utility. And the owner still receives a fair rate of return for his investment in the system. Once an owner-operator empowers Youpower to install a tenant power exchange on his property, they don't lift a finger, we do it all. We engineer, build and permit the system. We distribute and measure the power delivered to each tenant. We calculate the bills and we send statements to each tenant. We maintain and modify the systems over time for the life of the system so that they really, again, don't have to lift a finger. We do really do it all.
Well, 30 years in the industry through all sorts of change, Youpower certainly is uniquely positioned to be the exclusive energy partner that landlords need to profitably navigate the clean energy transition. So we really are changing the way you power your world.
Exactly.